Lyra's first view of Earth was through a smooth, curved window of the transport ship. The planet shimmered in shades of blue and green, and white clouds drifted lazily across the atmosphere. She had seen countless planets in her lifetime, but Earth felt different, strange, yet familiar in a way she could not describe. Her 3 hearts fluttered nervously as the ship descended toward the surface. Lyra was not just any alien. She was a scientist from her home world, renowned for her intelligence. But despite her achievements, she carried a quiet fear of being judged. Her species prized perfection, flawless forms, and precise manners. Any deviation was frowned upon, and she had spent years perfecting her appearance, posture, and speech. Yet now, standing on the edge of a planet filled with unknown humans, she felt unusually vulnerable. The transport landed softly near a human city. Trees swayed in the gentle wind, and birds chirped brightly. Lyra stepped out, her 3 sets of fingers brushing against the air as if trying to steady herself. She noticed that everything felt larger, louder, and more colorful than she expected. Humans walked by in casual clothes, talking and laughing, completely unaware of her presence. "Welcome to Earth, Lyra," a human voice said. She turned sharply and found a tall man standing beside her. His brown eyes were warm, and his smile seemed genuine. He wore simple clothing, a light jacket, and a small badge on his chest. "I'm Ethan," he said, holding out his hand. "I will be your guide while you are here." Lyra hesitated. She had practiced human handshakes, but something in her chest tightened. She quickly extended one of her hands, only for it to tremble slightly. Ethan noticed but did not react with any judgment. Instead, he gave a soft nod and said, "It's okay. No need to be nervous." That simple acceptance calmed her more than she expected. Humans were unpredictable, and she had spent her life avoiding embarrassment at all costs. Yet Ethan seemed different. He did not mock her tremor or her hesitation. Their first steps into the city were filled with small lessons. Ethan pointed out the simplest things: a bus stop, the way humans queued politely, the sounds of traffic, even the smells of fresh bread from a bakery. Lyra found herself absorbing everything with wide eyes. At one point, a small child ran past them, laughing and nearly bumping into her. She instinctively ducked, hiding behind Ethan. "Don't worry," he said, chuckling softly. "They don't bite. Humans are usually more curious than harmful." Lyra felt herself blush, which was unusual for her species. Her skin shimmered slightly as her embarrassment increased. She had expected judgment, but the human only smiled, as if her reaction were adorable rather than shameful. Over the next few hours, Ethan guided her through the city, explaining human customs. Lyra tried to follow along, but every step was awkward. She stumbled slightly on the uneven pavement and nearly walked into a street sign. Each mistake made her feel smaller, like she wanted to disappear. She ducked behind a bench, wishing she could melt into the ground. Ethan knelt beside her. "It's okay to make mistakes, Lyra. Humans do it all the time. We even laugh at ourselves sometimes." Lyra's 3 hearts thudded faster. She had never been praised for imperfection. In her society, mistakes were rare and often punished. Yet here, the humans seemed to see her errors as normal. Something about that simple acceptance made her feel strangely safe. As the sun moved across the sky, Lyra began to relax. She discovered that humans enjoyed simple things: walking in parks, sharing stories, and even making small gestures of kindness. Ethan showed her a small fountain in the middle of a park, its water sparkling in sunlight. Children ran past, squealing with joy as the droplets caught the light. Lyra watched them, fascinated. Their laughter felt alive, free from worry or perfection. "I never knew laughter could look like that," she admitted softly. "It's just happiness," Ethan said. "Humans hold on to it wherever we can. It helps us through hard times." Lyra nodded, feeling a warmth she had not experienced in years. She wanted to join the children, to laugh freely, but her instincts held her back. She dipped her fingers into the fountain water instead, feeling the cool liquid ripple across her skin. She glanced up at Ethan. "You don't have to hide behind rules here," he said. "You can just be yourself." Those words echoed in her mind. Be yourself. The idea seemed radical. She had spent her entire life sculpting herself into what others expected. Now, a human was telling her she didn't need to do that her natural self was enough. Evening approached, painting the sky in shades of pink and gold. Ethan led Lyra to a small, cozy place where they could eat. He introduced her to earth food, sandwiches, fruit, and sweet drinks she had never tasted before. Lyra hesitated at first, unsure how to handle the new flavors. She accidentally spilled a little drink, and her instincts screamed that she should apologize profusely and hide instead. Ethan laughed lightly. It's okay. Happens to everyone. Lyra felt a tiny spark of courage. She smiled faintly and tried a bite of a sandwich. The flavors were surprising but delightful. She realized that perhaps humans did not expect perfection at every moment. Maybe here, she could be herself without fear of scorn. After dinner, they walked along a riverbank. The water reflected the last light of the sun, and the city's lights began to twinkle like distant stars. Lyra felt a strange calm. Ethan's presence was steady, reassuring. She had never trusted another being so quickly, yet she felt she could lean on him if needed. I have seen many worlds, Lyra said softly, but none feel alive like this. It is beautiful. Ethan smiled. Earth has its flaws, sure, but we try. We care for each other, even when it's hard. Lyra's eyes widened slightly. She realized that human imperfections were not weaknesses. They were what made them strong. She thought about her own fears and insecurities, the ones she had always hidden. Perhaps she could share them here. As night fell, they reached the place where Lyra would stay. It was a small apartment, simple but welcoming. Ethan helped her carry her belongings inside. She hesitated at the doorway, unsure if she should fully step into this new world. You don't have to rush, he said gently. You can take your time. Lyra nodded. The trust in his voice gave her courage. She stepped inside, feeling a little lighter than she had in years. Perhaps Earth would teach her more than science. Perhaps it would teach her about acceptance, courage, and love. That night, Lyra looked out the window at the city lights. She felt a strange mix of excitement and nervousness. Tomorrow, she would explore more, learn more, and perhaps make more mistakes. But for the first time in a long while, she did not feel the need to hide. Ethan's words replayed in her mind. You can just be yourself. And for the first time, Lyra wondered if being herself could be enough for someone to care deeply, even love her. The next morning, sunlight poured through the large window of Lyra's temporary apartment. She blinked slowly, adjusting to the brightness. Her 3 hearts beat unevenly, a sign of nerves she could not easily control. Today was the first full day she would spend exploring Earth with Ethan. Ethan arrived promptly, carrying a small bag of supplies. He knocked lightly and entered with a smile. Good morning, Lyra. Ready for another adventure? Lyra nodded, though a flicker of hesitation crossed her face. She still worried about making mistakes. What if she tripped again? What if humans stared at her strange features? But Ethan's calm presence made her pause and breathe. They stepped outside, the city alive with movement. Humans walked dogs, rode bicycles, and greeted each other warmly. Lyra's attention was drawn to a group of street performers. One juggled glowing spheres. Another played a melodic tune on a strange instrument. Lyra's skin shimmered slightly as her emotions shifted between awe and embarrassment. I don't know how humans do these things so naturally, she admitted softly. Ethan chuckled. We practice, and we fail a lot before we get it right. Perfection is not the goal. Enjoyment is. Lyra considered his words. On her home planet, failure was often frowned upon. Here, it seemed almost celebrated. She felt a mix of curiosity and hesitation. She wanted to try, yet her mind screamed caution. As they walked, Ethan guided her to a park filled with trees and flowers. The scents were unfamiliar but pleasant, and the sound of birds brought a strange comfort. Children ran freely, their laughter echoing across the open space. Lyra watched them, feeling a pang of longing. How easy it must be to be so confident, so free. You can join them if you want, Ethan said gently. Noticing her gaze, Lyra shook her head. I might embarrass myself. Ethan smiled. Then I'll be there to catch you if you fall. Her pulse quickened. The sincerity in his words made her feel a warmth she had never known. Slowly, she stepped forward, careful at first, then more confidently. She began to mimic the children's movements, running and jumping cautiously. When she stumbled slightly, Ethan caught her hand. Instead of scolding, he laughed softly. See? No harm done. Her 3 hearts swelled with an unfamiliar sense of belonging. Perhaps being herself was not dangerous here. Perhaps someone could accept her fully, without expecting perfection. After playing for a while, they sat beneath a large oak tree. Ethan handed her a small package wrapped in colorful paper. Lyra tilted her head, unsure what it was. It's a gift, Ethan said. For trying, for being brave, for just being you. Lyra's hands trembled slightly as she unwrapped it. Inside was a small, intricate bracelet made of tiny crystals that shimmered in multiple colors. She had never seen anything like it. It's beautiful, she whispered, touched by the gesture. Her voice, soft and melodic, carried a hint of awe. Ethan smiled. It's meant to remind you that imperfections shine too. Every flaw, every stumble. It's all part of who you are. Lyra's gaze fell to the ground, and she felt a sudden rush of embarrassment. She had never allowed anyone to see her vulnerable side, and now this human seemed to treasure it. Her instinct was to hide, to curl into herself and disappear. She brushed a hand across her face, hoping he would not notice, but Ethan did. He reached out, gently lifting her chin so their eyes met. Lyra, he said softly, you don't have to hide from me. I like all of you, the cautious, the curious, the shy, even the clumsy parts. Her 3 hearts beat faster than she could manage. She had never heard such words directed at her. On her planet, admiration came for skill or perfection, never for being honest, never for being real. Yet here, someone seemed to care just for who she truly was. The day continued with small adventures. Ethan led Lyra to a local market filled with colorful stalls. Fruits, spices, fabrics, and trinkets from all over Earth created a lively scene. Lyra marveled at the variety, often ducking behind Ethan when crowds passed too closely. Yet he stayed near her, guiding her gently through the throng. Don't worry about looking strange, he said, noticing her nervous glances. Humans notice a lot less than you think, and if they do, most of them just smile and move on. Lyra's skin shimmered slightly with a soft, warm glow. She had never been reassured like this before. She realized how much fear she had carried simply to avoid judgment. And now, with Ethan by her side, it felt almost unnecessary. By midday, they found a quiet spot by a small river. The water flowed calmly, reflecting sunlight and dancing with ripples. Ethan sat on a large stone and gestured for Lyra to sit beside him. She hesitated, but then joined him, keeping a slight distance. You've been very brave today, Ethan said. Trying new things, exploring. It's not easy to leave your comfort zone. Lyra's voice was barely above a whisper. I am not always brave. I am usually afraid. Ethan's eyes met hers. That's okay. Being brave doesn't mean never being afraid. It means facing your fears anyway. Her 3 hearts beat unevenly, touched by his words. She felt a connection growing between them, fragile but undeniable. The warmth in his gaze made her feel seen, in a way she had never experienced. Suddenly, a gust of wind blew, scattering leaves across the river bank. Lyra jumped slightly, and a few leaves stuck to her shimmering skin. She laughed softly at herself, an unfamiliar but pleasant sound. Ethan smiled. See? Even small surprises can be fun, for the first time in her life. Lyra laughed freely without fear of judgment. It was strange and delightful, the sound mingling with the rustling leaves and flowing water. She realized that perhaps mistakes and surprises were not threats, but opportunities to enjoy life more fully. As afternoon turned to evening, they returned to the apartment. Lyra felt both exhausted and exhilarated. Her body shimmered faintly, reflecting her emotional state, a mix of curiosity, excitement, and lingering embarrassment. Inside, she hesitated at the doorway. The apartment was cozy, and she wanted to relax, but part of her still clung to caution. Ethan noticed her hesitation and smiled reassuringly. "You don't have to rush," he said. "Take your time. I'll be here." Lyra nodded. Slowly, she stepped inside, feeling a little braver than before. She began to unpack her small belongings, placing them in neat order while reflecting on the day's events. Each moment with Ethan had been a lesson, not about science or knowledge, but about trust, courage, and acceptance. Later, as night fell, Lyra and Ethan sat by the window, watching the city lights twinkle in the distance. The soft glow reflected in Lyra's shimmering skin, highlighting the subtle patterns unique to her species. She had hidden these patterns for years, fearing that others would judge her. Yet Ethan admired them. He had told her so. Her thoughts wandered to the idea of love. Could someone truly care for every part of her, even the parts she had always hidden? The idea felt both frightening and wonderful. She wanted to believe it, but had been hurt too many times to trust easily. Ethan turned to her, sensing her inner turmoil. "Lyra," he said softly, "you don't need to hide from me. Not here, not ever. I like you, all of you." Her three hearts fluttered wildly. The sincerity in his voice made her feel as if the walls she had built around herself were slowly dissolving. For the first time, she wondered if she could be brave enough to trust him completely. That night, Lyra lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. She thought about the city, the laughter, the flowing river, and Ethan's words. Each memory brought a mix of excitement and nervousness. She realized that this planet, these humans, and this one human in particular, were teaching her something far more valuable than science or knowledge. They were teaching her about courage, trust, and the possibility of love that accepted all her insecurities. And though she still felt shy and embarrassed at times, she also felt a budding hope that perhaps she could let herself be seen, not as a perfect alien scientist, but as a real being worthy of care and admiration. With that thought, Lyra drifted into a deep sleep, dreaming of rivers, laughter, and a human whose patience and kindness might just change her life forever. The next morning, sunlight streamed into Lyra's apartment, waking her slowly. She felt a mixture of excitement and anxiety. Today was different. Today, she was going to attend a cultural gathering hosted by humans and aliens together. It was meant to encourage understanding between species. But for Lyra, it was a test. She feared making mistakes, looking strange, or saying something wrong in front of others. Ethan arrived, carrying a small folder with information about the gathering. "Good morning, Lyra. Are you ready?" Lyra hesitated. I am not sure. I don't want to embarrass myself." Ethan smiled gently. "You won't. I'll be with you the whole time. And remember, they want to learn from you, just as you will learn from them. It's about sharing, not perfection." Lyra nodded, feeling a small spark of courage. She adjusted her clothes, making sure her patterns shimmered subtly, yet she still felt exposed. On her planet, showing any part of her personal markings in public was considered extremely daring. But here, she had Ethan, who had always shown admiration and patience. As they approached the gathering hall, Lyra felt her heartbeat quicken. The hall was large, filled with humans and aliens from many worlds. Aliens of all shapes and sizes moved gracefully, some with shimmering wings, others with long tails or multiple eyes. Humans walked among them, chatting, laughing, and observing with curiosity. Lyra's instincts told her to hide. She stepped back, trying to blend into the crowd. But Ethan gently held her hand. "You can step forward," he said. "I'm right here with you." Lyra took a deep breath and let herself move forward, feeling Ethan's steady presence beside her. Each step was heavy with nerves, but also with a quiet determination. She had come this far. She would try. The gathering began with introductions. Lyra listened as various species spoke about their cultures, their achievements, and their fears. When it was her turn, she felt her pulse quicken. Her voice trembled slightly as she began. "Greetings," she said softly. "I am Lyra, from the planet of Solaris. I study the ways different beings live, and I hope to learn from all of you today." Some aliens nodded, humans smiled warmly, and for a moment, Lyra felt her courage falter. She stumbled over a word, and her instincts screamed to hide, to disappear, to shrink into herself. Ethan noticed and gave her a reassuring nod. He whispered quietly, "It's okay. Keep going. You are doing great." Lyra took a deep breath and continued. She spoke about her work, her studies of alien biology, and her fascination with human emotions. As she spoke, she began to notice something remarkable. The audience listened intently. No one laughed at her mistakes. No one whispered behind their hands. They were genuinely interested in what she had to say. Her confidence grew. She shared stories of her planet, describing the way her people celebrated learning and discovery. She even laughed softly at her own small mistakes, and the audience smiled with her. Lyra felt an unfamiliar warmth spread through her. Perhaps, she thought, mistakes were not failures, they could be bridges to connection. After her presentation, many humans and aliens came forward to ask questions. Lyra answered as best she could, her voice steadying with each response. She realized that sharing herself, not a perfect, polished version, but the real version, brought admiration and respect. As the gathering continued, a group of young humans approached her. They were curious, asking about her appearance and the patterns on her skin. Lyra felt a flicker of embarrassment. Her instincts urged her to hide, to cover herself. But Ethan's steady hand on hers reminded her she was safe. "It's okay," he said softly. "They're just curious, and curiosity is good. You can show them if you want." Lyra hesitated, then allowed a small shimmer of her natural markings to glow more brightly. The children gasped in awe. One of them, a girl no older than 10, reached out tentatively. "They're beautiful," she whispered. Lyra felt her heart swell. She had feared judgment, but instead, she found admiration and wonder. The embarrassment that had clung to her like a shadow began to fade, replaced by pride and joy. Later, during a break, Lyra wandered to a quiet balcony overlooking the city. The lights twinkled like distant stars, and she felt a gentle breeze brush against her skin. Ethan followed, standing beside her silently for a moment. "You were amazing," he said quietly. "I knew you could do it." Lyra turned to him, her eyes shimmering. I still feel nervous. What if I made a mistake they will remember?" Ethan shook his head gently. "No one remembers mistakes the way you think. They remember courage, honesty, and the willingness to try. And today, you showed all three." Her 3 hearts beat rapidly, and she felt an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She realized that Ethan's support had been her anchor. Without him, she might have cowered behind the crowd, hiding in fear. With him, she could face the world, even with all her imperfections. As they walked back inside, an unexpected situation arose. A loud alarm sounded, and a small device used in the demonstration of alien technology malfunctioned, creating sparks and smoke. Lyra instinctively ducked behind a table, her body trembling. The crowd began to panic slightly, unsure what to do. Ethan moved quickly to her side, taking her hand again. "It's okay. Stay with me," he said calmly. Together, they guided others to safety, helping to contain the malfunction until it was resolved. Lyra felt a rush of fear, followed by a surprising surge of courage. She realized she could act even when afraid, especially when she had someone she trusted by her side. The experience, though frightening, taught her that fear did not have to control her. Courage was not the absence of fear, but action despite it. After the commotion ended, the crowd applauded those who had helped, including Lyra. She felt her face warm with embarrassment, but this time it was different. The embarrassment was not shame. It was the thrill of having faced a challenge and survived. Ethan squeezed her hand gently. "See, you didn't hide. You were brave, and everyone noticed." Lyra's thoughts raced. She had hidden for so long, always trying to avoid judgment. Yet now, she saw that being herself, vulnerable, imperfect, and real, had won her admiration. She realized that hiding did not protect her. It only limited her. As the gathering concluded, Lyra and Ethan walked home together. The streets were quiet, bathed in the soft glow of streetlights. Lyra felt a deep sense of relief and pride. She had faced her fears, shared herself with others, and discovered something extraordinary. that her true self was enough. When they reached her apartment, Lyra paused at the door. She looked at Ethan, a mixture of gratitude and something more shimmering in her eyes. "Thank you," she said softly, "for believing in me." Ethan smiled warmly. "You didn't need me to believe in you. You just needed a little reminder that being yourself is enough. And you were incredible today." Lyra felt a quiet joy in her chest. She realized that acceptance, real, deep acceptance, was a rare gift, and she had found it in Ethan, a human who had seen her not as an alien to judge, but as a being worthy of care and admiration. That night, as she lay in bed, Lyra reflected on the day. The fear, the embarrassment, the unexpected challenges, they all had value. She had learned to trust herself, to act despite fear, and to open her heart to someone who truly cared. Ethan's words echoed in her mind. Courage is not the absence of fear. It is action despite it. For the first time in her life, Lyra felt that she could face the future with confidence, knowing that she did not need to hide. And more than that, she realized that love, real, understanding, patient love, could flourish even in the presence of vulnerability. Her thoughts drifted to Ethan, and a soft smile appeared on her face. She had hidden so much of herself in embarrassment, but now she understood that showing her true self was not weakness. It was strength. And perhaps, she thought with a flutter in her heart, it was also the beginning of something beautiful. As sleep claimed her, Lyra dreamed not of perfection or flawless appearances, but of courage, trust, and the warmth of a human who had taught her that every inch of her being, even the parts she had once hidden, was worthy of love. The next morning, sunlight filtered softly through the window, casting warm patterns across Lyra's room. She stretched her limbs and felt a quiet excitement. Today was different. Today, she would explore the city alone with Ethan, without structured lessons or formal activities. It was their first day of true freedom together, and Lyra felt a flutter of anticipation in her heart. Ethan arrived promptly, carrying a small bag of supplies and a bright smile. "Good morning, Lyra," he said warmly. "Ready for another adventure?" Lyra nodded, feeling more confident than she had a week ago. "Yes, I feel ready today." Ethan's eyes sparkled. "That's good to hear. Let's go see what the city has to offer." They stepped outside, and Lyra immediately felt the familiar mix of excitement and curiosity. The streets were alive with movement, humans walking dogs, children riding bicycles, vendors calling out from their stalls. The city hummed with life, vibrant and welcoming. Lyra's skin shimmered faintly in the sunlight, reflecting her emotions. She had learned to embrace this natural trait, which she had once tried to hide. Her patterns were unique and beautiful, and for the first time, she did not feel the need to conceal them. As they walked, Ethan led her to a quiet garden tucked between two tall buildings. The garden was filled with flowers and colors she had never seen, and a gentle stream flowed through the center. Birds chirped in harmony, creating a peaceful melody. "This place is amazing," Lyra whispered, her eyes wide. Ethan smiled. "It's one of my favorite spots in the city. I wanted to show it to you." Lyra felt a warmth in her heart. She realized that these small gestures, simple yet thoughtful, were what made Ethan's presence so comforting. He cared for her not because she was perfect, but because she was herself. They spent the morning exploring the garden, laughing at small mishaps, and sharing stories about their lives. Lyra told Ethan about her planet, her studies, and her fears. She spoke openly, without hesitation or the need to impress. And Ethan listened, genuinely interested, never judging, never correcting. At one point, Lyra tripped on a small root and almost fell into the stream. Her instincts screamed embarrassment, but Ethan's hand was there instantly, steadying her. "It's okay," he said softly. "No harm done." Lyra felt a surge of gratitude. She realized that being herself, including her clumsiness, was accepted here. She laughed softly, the sound mixing with the gentle flow of the stream. After the garden, Ethan led her to a small cafe. Humans and aliens mingled, sharing food and stories. Lyra watched with curiosity as people laughed and interacted freely. She had learned so much about Earth in the past days, its culture, its people, its values. But the most important lesson had come from Ethan, that true acceptance comes not from perfection, but from honesty, courage, and connection. They ordered drinks and found a quiet corner. Lyra sipped her beverage slowly, savoring the unfamiliar flavors. She felt at ease, more herself than ever before. "Lyra," Ethan said, breaking the comfortable silence, "I've seen so much courage from you these past days. You've faced fears, embraced new experiences, and shared yourself openly. That's something rare in any world." Lyra's 3 hearts beat faster, and a soft warmth spread through her. "I could not have done it without you," she admitted. You make it easier to be brave." Ethan reached across the table, gently taking her hand. "You are brave on your own. I just help you see it, and I care for every part of you." Lyra felt her pulse quicken. She had hidden so much of herself, afraid of judgment. Yet now, someone admired all of her quirks, her patterns, her cautious heart, even her insecurities. She had never imagined such acceptance could exist. The afternoon passed with quiet walks and shared laughter. They visited a museum showcasing alien and human cultures, exploring artifacts and displays. Lyra marveled at the diversity, appreciating the beauty in differences. Ethan watched her, smiling as she asked questions, touched exhibits, and expressed wonder freely. By evening, they found themselves atop a tall hill overlooking the city. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of pink, orange, and purple. The lights of the city began to twinkle below, and the air was filled with a soft, gentle breeze. Lyra stood beside Ethan, feeling the wind brush against her skin. She glanced at him, her eyes shimmering with emotion. "Ethan, I never thought someone could accept me completely," she said softly. "All my fears, all my flaws. You see them, and yet you still care." Ethan turned to her, his gaze steady and warm. "Lyra, you are remarkable. Not because you are perfect, but because you are real. Your courage, your honesty, your heart, those are the things that make you truly beautiful." Lyra felt her 3 hearts swell with a mix of love, gratitude, and awe. She realized that she no longer needed to hide, to fear embarrassment, or to strive for perfection. She could be herself, every shimmer of her skin, every quiver of her voice, every thought in her mind, and it would be enough. Slowly, Lyra reached out and took Ethan's hand, intertwining her fingers with his. The gesture felt natural, comforting, and right. Ethan squeezed her hand gently, his eyes reflecting understanding and care. For a moment, they stood in silence, watching the city below. Lyra felt a deep sense of peace. She had come a long way from the shy, cautious alien who had first arrived on Earth. She had faced fear, embraced imperfection, and discovered a connection that transcended differences. As darkness fell and stars began to appear in the night sky, Lyra felt a soft glow from within. Her skin shimmered more brightly than ever before, reflecting the emotions she could no longer hide. She laughed softly, a sound full of joy and relief. Ethan looked at her, eyes wide with admiration. "Lyra, you shine in every way, not just because of your patterns, but because of who you are." Lyra's heart fluttered. She stepped closer, her hand still in his, and smiled. "I have never felt like this before. I never imagined someone could see me fully and still love me." Ethan's expression softened. "You don't have to imagine it. I do. And I will, every day." Lyra felt a warmth spread through her that she had never experienced. It was not just acceptance or admiration. It was love. Real, patient, and understanding love. She had hidden for so long, afraid of being judged. But now she realized that hiding had never protected her. It had only kept her from experiencing the depth of connection she longed for. The night grew quiet, and the city lights shimmered below like tiny stars. Lyra and Ethan remained on the hill, hand in hand, talking softly about dreams, hopes, and the future. Lyra shared her thoughts about her home planet, about science, about her fears and ambitions. Ethan listened, never interrupting, always encouraging, always caring. Finally, Lyra leaned gently against him, her body relaxed and her mind calm. She had learned that trust could be earned, but it could also be given. And in giving it to Ethan, She had discovered a bond stronger than fear, stronger than doubt, stronger than embarrassment. I think. I am ready, Lyra whispered, her voice barely audible. Ready to be fully myself, without fear. Ethan smiled and brushed a gentle hand across her shimmering skin. I have been ready since the moment we met, he said softly. And I will always be here. Lyra felt her heart's beat in a steady, confident rhythm. She no longer needed to hide. She no longer needed to fear judgment. She could shine, laugh, stumble, speak, and live freely, knowing that someone cared for every inch of her, every thought, every quiver, every quirk. The stars above twinkled, reflecting in the river of the city below. Lyra felt a deep sense of wonder and gratitude. She had discovered courage, trust, acceptance, and love, lessons that no lecture or experiment could have taught. All of them had come from living, experiencing, and opening her heart to another being who saw her completely. Ethan and Lyra stayed on the hill until the city was quiet and the night air cool. Finally, they rose together and began their walk back. Lyra's steps were lighter now, full of confidence. She knew she could face any challenge, any fear, any embarrassment, because she had learned that real connection does not demand perfection. It only requires honesty, courage, and a willing heart. When they reached her apartment, Lyra paused at the door. She turned to Ethan, a soft smile on her lips, her shimmering skin glowing faintly in the moonlight. "Thank you," she said quietly, "for everything." Ethan's eyes reflected the warmth and admiration he had shown all along. "No thanks needed," he said. "You taught me just as much. You showed me courage, honesty, and the beauty of being oneself." Lyra felt her heart fill with joy. She realized that love, true love, was not about perfection. It was about seeing and accepting every part of someone, even the parts they feared most. And in Ethan, she had found that love. As she closed the door behind her, Lyra felt a lightness she had never known. She had hidden for so long, but no longer. She could laugh, shine, stumble, and speak freely. She could live fully, knowing that she was loved for exactly who she was. And as she lay down to rest that night, her heart's beat in harmony, filled with gratitude, joy, and a quiet, enduring love. She had found acceptance. She had found courage, and above all, she had found someone who loved every inch of her, not despite her quirks and fears, but because of them. Lyra drifted into a peaceful sleep, dreaming of a future filled with adventure, trust, and the warmth of a human who had taught her the most valuable lesson of all, that being yourself is enough, and love can embrace every part.